Hello, I'm Mark,
And I'm Jenna.
and we are going to do our first video. This is going to be about our 7 keys to a faith based and long lasting marriage. As a couple, we've been together for about 20 years,
Almost
married
20.
over 17,
Yeah.
and we've been through a lot. And we found that these 7 things are what help us maintain our relationship.
Right. And if you like us and would like to subscribe to us, you'll get notifications on when we upload new videos. And we're just mostly going to be talking about marriage. Like Mark said, we have been together a really long time. We've gone through so much in our marriage and losing jobs and learning how to argue in a respectful way and get through our struggles. Um, I have studied psychology for over 20 years.
I've lived with her for over 20 years.
So there you go. Okay, so and we are also in the process of writing one of our books. It's called Two Fonts in a Marriage. That will be out shortly, and we can also let you know when that comes out. It will be shortly, and you can also reach us by Mark and Jenna Mission at gmail.com. And you can always email us if you have any questions, or you can comment below and we'll check those comments and we can answer any questions. We're here to pray with you and just really help you on your marriage journey and how to navigate a healthy, loving marriage that works for both of us or both of you. So, you know, we're designed and created for relationships, obviously, and for husband and wife relationships. But, life is really hard sometimes. And so it's really important that when you have two lives and you're joining them together, you understand how, Mark was raised one way and I was raised another way, and they were very, very different. So it's really important to learn how to blend those lives in a happy, healthy way so that you can navigate life together, because life is so hard sometimes, as we know, and I'm sure as you know as well. And so navigating a marriage along the path of life can be really difficult. So hopefully we can give you some insight on how we've done it. We'll be uploading videos on our journey, which will be very interesting. You'll want to make sure that you go ahead and subscribe so that you can be notified when we upload that video. So
our
go ahead, Mark.
our 7 words, or I guess you call it an acronym, we came up with is love you. And each letter in love you represents a specific point to help you build your marriage. For example, the first letter, L, stands for your love of God. Mm-hmm. And that to us is extremely important in marriage. We realized that our first 3 to 4 years was very difficult. We had no idea, looking back, how we survived those first 3 to 4 years. As Jenna said, we had totally different views on what a marriage was. So she was going one route in the marriage, I was going another route in the marriage, and we were constantly fighting, butting heads. But after I got laid off the first time, and we lost our house, we luckily found God and realized that He had kept us together so that we could enjoy this journey together. So now, after the next 13, almost 14 years,
a lot of years,
as a Christian couple, we found that our faith in God has helped us build an understanding and loving relationship
that is full of respect, actually. And so one of the important things in loving God is bringing God into your marriage. And if you think about having the marriage based around God rather than just living life in your marriage and then bringing God into it whenever you need help or anything like that, it makes it very difficult. So having God in the center of your marriage and the focus of your marriage is super helpful. Doing Bible studies together, understanding what God says about a healthy marriage. I remember when the first couple years that we were in a marriage, I had it all wrong. And we were fighting and butting heads, like Mark said, so much. And then once we became Christians and started following God in our marriage, now I started praying, God, how do you want me to be a godly wife, a loving wife? How can I respect my husband? I was raised in a family that the women were very dominating, and we always wore the pants in the family, and that's just how it was. But that's not how God designed a marriage to be. And so when I was able to understand what a healthy marriage looked like through God's eyes and God's view, then I could let my husband lead. And when I let my husband lead, that really opened up our marriage to the way that it's supposed to be. And that was so crucial, because Mark has gifts, just like your husbands have gifts, of leading. And I've been a stay-at-home mom for the last 17 years. And I remember when he and I first got together, I was on my way to what do you call it? Climbing the corporate ladder. And Mark wanted to had suggested that I stay home, and I didn't know what that looked like. So so that was a really big part of our marriage, is coming to this place where we understood the gifts that God had for us. And so as I let him lead, it really opened me up to be a mother and to really dive into the things that a godly wife does. And that was absolutely crucial. So,
And that leads us talking about understanding each other and talking together opens us up to the second letter, which is O, for open communication, because
this is
that's
a fun
something we
one.
found that 90% of our arguments were because I would say one thing and she would take it differently than what I meant it. So easily 95% of our arguments were just because of lack of communication.
Mhm.
So that's something that's very important, is understanding each other and communicating. For example, the beginning of our marriage, if I said, "Oh baby, you look tired," she would take it as I look like crap. I don't have my makeup on. I'm still in my pajamas. He doesn't appreciate all the stuff I've done today. But now, after having been together as long as we have, that same statement means, "Baby, you look tired. Let me help. What can I help you with? What can I do? Why don't you take a break?" So, just simply understanding the meaning of the statement, not necessarily the words, but understanding each other and what our thought process is, helps with communication. And make certain when you communicate that you do it in a respectful manner, because that was something, again, in the first 3 to 4 years there was a lot of hurtful arguments, a lot of name calling, but once you get past that and you start to understand each other and you start to want to make that communication with each other, it becomes much easier. Plus, getting right to the point and being able to communicate the point within 2 or 3 minutes takes an argument or misunderstanding from a 2 to 3 minute fix. Without the communication, it becomes a 3 to 4 hour or maybe even a week-long fight.
Yeah.
So that's something we dealt with a lot.
Mhm.
She says I'm stubborn. I just think it's determination. But we do. That's one of the things that we have issue with, is I'm a guy. I'm stubborn, and my wife is very patient in that. But with us communicating, it works out much better. I have become very stubborn in some ways, but a lot less stubborn in other ways. And she is really good about communicating and opening up. And that's something that you guys have to understand, is women like to communicate.
Mhm.
They like to, for example, if she says, "Do I look good in this outfit?" And you say, "Yes." She goes, "Are you sure?" "Yes." "What makes the outfit look nice?" She'll ask all kinds of questions, even though you just answered the question. But that's just ladies wanting to feel their emotions, understand everything. To us, yeah, that's it. It covers all the bases. Women want to know more. So understand that, guys. When a wife asks you a question, she's going to ask you 10 or 15 times, same question. So she gets the same answer, but to her, they're different answers because they're covering different emotions and different thoughts.
I think
So.
that's a really great way to explain it. And if I could just add on to that, so for instance, when Mark came home from work, I'd say, "Hey, honey, how was your day?" And he'd say, "Oh, it was good." Now, if he asked me how my day was, I got to go through start to finish. And all of my emotions and all of my feelings touch every single other emotion because they all relate. It's like a big plate of spaghetti. Like every emotion touches every other emotion. So for Mark, he has like his separate boxes and stuff, and this is great. This is something that I envy, just being able to be in one box at a time. But so it's really important to be able to communicate with each other in a proper way and talk things out respectfully. And so this has really improved our marriage. And it was even after the first couple years of marriage. I think we were on like our third marriage, and
Third marriage.
Did I say third marriage? I meant third
You've
year.
only had 2
I
marriages.
meant
I've
third
had
year.
one. I've had one.
But it was a really long time ago that I was married before, so it doesn't even really count. But anyway, and it was like for a super short time. So anyway, this is the marriage that is important because we've been together for so long. But anyway, so we were at this place where we were just ready to quit. We couldn't communicate with each other, not because of his stubbornness, not because of my determination, not because of my stubbornness, not that I have any, except I do.
But they both added to the
Right,
issues.
right.
So.
And it's good to have a sense of humor with each other and play around with each other and joke around with each other. I think that really adds into it as well, because the fact of the matter is that when you're in a lifelong marriage together, which is what we all want, right? We all want to get to, pardon me, we all want to get to 42 years or 52 years or 60 years or whatever your number is, okay? And to do that, that means that the person next to you is your best friend. And we will get to a little bit more into that in a few minutes. But Mark is my bestest friend in the whole wide universe. And I am too, right?
Yep.
Are you sure?
Yep.
For real?
Definitely.
Like all the way?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Just like that.
Wow.
So it's important to be able to communicate with each other because you're going to be spending all this time together and you don't want to get 15 years down the line and then just realize that you don't like each other anymore. So when you make that commitment to be in a marriage with each other, that person has to be your lifelong best friend. And so it's really good to be patient with each other, to be able to communicate with each other. Please excuse our kids screaming and yelling. They're joking around downstairs and doing their homework and all that stuff. So if you hear them, that's what it is. So go ahead. What's the next one?
So that brings us into the V. So we're LOV, and V means to value each other. So that means people say marriage is 50-50. That's baloney. Marriage is 100 and 100.
Yeah.
Because
100%.
you have to put 100% into the marriage. Mm-hmm. She has to put 100% into the marriage. There will be times when one of you is exhausted or you're not connected and the other one's carrying the load, but that is still, your goal is to give 100% to each other.
All the time.
And that 100% is, it sounds exhausting, but really, after you've become habitual with it, it's not, because you do it because you want to, because you love the other person and you want to make them happy. And when you focus on the value of the other person and just them as your partner and best friend, it makes life so much easier. They're giving 100%, you're giving 100%, so nobody's compromising. And in a marriage, they say there's compromise, but there really shouldn't be. you guys should be on the same page. You should be understanding each other and should be helping each other. And some people will say compromise is a good thing, but I don't think in a really strong marriage you have compromise. You work together with each other on everything. And so, for example, like, she'll go out with her friends once in a while. She does Bible study with friends of hers, and that's one of her things is she goes out and does that, and that's important to her. And so me understanding that she needs time with her friends is valuable and important, but also she does 90% of the meal. She does the majority of the bills because the jobs I've had, I've been out of the house 14, 15, 16 hours a day. So I can't communicate with the lenders and the bills and everything, and that's what she does. So every marriage, we're going to have we each have talents, we each have goals and focuses, but our value is in each other and our relationship with each other. And as she said, we're best friends. I mean, she gets into a lot of things that I'm into. I like Star Wars. I enjoy watching the Star Wars shows. I got her into The Mandalorian, so she enjoys that sort of stuff, And I mean, we like to play games together and things like that. So if you find yourself wanting to spend time with your wife or your husband, that's what the goal is. You shouldn't be going outside of marriage to find value.
Right.
Value is right here with each other. So.
Value, yes. And that's really important. And I'm really glad that you brought that up, Mark, because valuing each other, when you love each other and you're trying to navigate through this life and have a good, healthy marriage, it's important to show each other that you value each other. For instance, because you love that person, right? And you want them to know how much you love them. So, and this is just an example. I'm not saying everybody has to do this or anything, but when Mark gets up at work to go to work, he typically gets up at 4:00 in the morning. And I get up with him and I bring him coffee and we sit and he takes a shower and I sit on the toilet and we do a Bible study together while he's in the shower, and I just sit there and I talk to him and we have coffee together and we spend time together. Then after he goes to work, then I do my alone time with God and everything. But the reason why I get up with him and bring him coffee is because I know that is going to show him that I value him going to work for us, that I value our relationship together, that I'm willing to invest that time together. And I think that that's what it comes to across the board is you have to make time for each other. And in that time, you want each other to understand how much you value each other, because we each have value in our marriage. And so sometimes you find creative ways to show each other that you value each other, and then they become habits, and then you continue them on. And I pack his lunch for him in the morning. So I go down, I get coffee, I pack his lunch real quick, I bring it back up, we do our Bible study together while he's in the shower, and then we drink our coffee and we talk and chit chat and talk about our day and what's going to happen in the day, talk about what's going on with the kids. And we spend that time together because it's so important in life that your marriage has that value and that your marriage stands alone. Because if your marriage is okay, then everything else will fall into place. And I think that's a really crucial thing that a lot of couples missed. I know we missed that for a number of years together. So
now we move on to E. So we have LOVE, E standing for earnings. When we came together, we both had jobs. We combined our funds. And I feel, as Jenna does, that the funds should all be together. We've always looked at it since she became a stay-at-home mom that I earn the money, but it's our money. I can only earn the amount of money I earn because she stays at home and takes care of the kids. So we're a team. We work together. So it is our money. That's how we look at it. And we feel that that is very important, that you look at it as you have a marriage, you're combining your life together, you're going to spend your life together, you should spend your money together, you should take it as one item that you all have earned together and work on. We've heard of couples who, his money, her money, to us, that's driving a wedge into the relationship right there.
For us particularly.
Right.
And it does work for some couples. And we're not saying that one way is better over the other way. We're just saying that when you come together in a marriage, you got to find out what works. So with me being the stay-at-home mom, it was easier for me to handle all the bills and to take care of all the money and the grocery shopping and make sure we had enough money to go as far
Budgeting
as
and
we
all
did, and budgeting. And we live pretty far outside of the city, and Mark commutes so that we can stay home, because our home values out here are half of what they are an hour and a half closer into the city. So and we just decided at the very beginning that if I was going to stay home and raise the kids, that we were going to have to sacrifice on some things, just, for the next however many years. Our oldest is 25 and our youngest is 12, but we have 7 kids. So there were times when, we do pasta casseroles and stuff for dinner because, we had to pay this bill this month, or this bill another month, or during the week, or we had something unexpected come up with one of the vehicles. So I just did the finances, and then, things come up and so on and so forth. However, with me doing the finances and him making the money, we still stayed in communication with what was going on. And we put it towards our family. But, there's things that, we don't do vacations 3 times a year anymore, but we'll do maybe 1 vacation a year. Date nights, for instance. This is a huge thing that we had to figure out our finances on because we're on one income. So sometimes on a tight week, what we do is we send the kids to bed, and then we have a movie night with crackers and cheese and grapes and, apples and stuff. And we just have a nice little date night in the living room together by sending the kids to bed. And we do it after the kids are in bed or something like that.
The kids go to youth group on Sunday nights.
Mm-hmm.
So usually Sunday nights from 5:30 to 8 is our time.
Right. And so we'll either come back to the house and we'll have a nice dinner together and be able to talk about stuff. If any of you guys have kids, you understand there's not a lot of time when you don't get interrupted with, hey, Mom, I need this or need that. So just to warn you, we may have kids knocking on the door while we're doing our videos in the future and stuff, because they're homeschooling and doing math and so on and so forth. So
this kind of brings us to the next one, which
mm-hmm.
is why. So we have
LOVE.
And we have Y, which stands for your family.
Oh, your family.
So your family is very important. And it's not necessarily just you and your kids. Your family now is her in-laws, my in-laws. She's very lucky because she only has to deal with one in-law, my mom.
Please keep in mind that my parents may watch this at some time.
So I have 4 times as much to deal with as she does.
Yes.
But my mom's really cool. Even my wife thinks she's the coolest in-law.
She is really cool.
She's awesome.
She is really cool.
But that's something that's very important. Again, like we talked about our marriages when we started, 2 totally different views of marriage.
Yes.
So when you have 3 or 4 sets of in-laws, you might have 3 or 4 different ideas of what a marriage is all about.
Mm-hmm.
You have those in-laws who think money's all important everything. Everything's all about how much money you earn, how you're going to spend your money, how you're going to save your money, how you're going to invest your money. Other in-laws are more like, what's the family? Keep the family as number one. Every couple is going to have the in-laws input. And then the aunts and the uncles and the other in-laws and the other, it's just, but remember, your family is something you guys have to deal with, because this right here, that's the most important thing. The in-laws come second. Their opinions are opinions, not guides on how you have to live your life.
Right.
If you have to shut the in-laws out for a period of time, just don't talk to them for a while because you need to focus on you two.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine, but to keep a relationship with your in-laws is a good thing too.
Yeah.
It's just, you have to understand how to deal with them as a couple.
Mm-hmm.
And again, You have to deal with your family on a relationship level between the two of you, because now that you're married, this is the important thing, not the in-laws.
Right.
Always put your wife or your husband before the in-laws.
Absolutely.
Put them before everybody but God.
Yeah.
God's number one, then the wife and husband,
Spouse.
children, etc.
And that's and I'm really glad that you brought that up as well, because I come from, like I said before, a very different kind of family. So one of the things that we had to learn, and it took years really to get this, is how to establish those boundaries that, they can have their input into our lives, but not the control. Now, with my family in particular, there was a lot of control and power plays and stuff. And that really put a lot of strain on our marriage. And it was really important that even when I was upset at my parents for whatever, that he supported me, but didn't ever say, oh yeah, well, your parents are punks or anything like that. Because what that does, even though I'm mad at them at that time, is it puts me in a position where I need to defend them. And that's really important. You never say anything bad about your in-laws to the other person, because when the chips hit the ground, they're our parents or, our family or whatever. And even in those moments when we're upset, we don't ever want to have to be in a position where it drives a wedge when we have to defend our family. So encouraging each other. If I'm upset with my parents, that Mark can encourage me and encourage me to, draw those boundaries, or encourage me to go and communicate with them or talk to them or resolve the issues or whatever. But first and foremost, Mark and I are together. And so I think we could probably do a whole book on in-laws, probably, huh? Like my in-laws. Well, I mean, your in-laws, my parents, and my family.
We could have Stephen King write it.
Really? Okay.
Okay, so
maybe he could.
That brings us to the next word is.
Oh wait! No, we didn't talk about family in terms of children and stuff. So one of the other things, and I just really want to point this out because I think it's really important, and it's something that I know as a wife I've struggled with, is when I'm feeling that my husband, this guy right here, is not meeting my needs. Sometimes it's very difficult not to go to my children to have those needs met, because I'm their mother and they always need me. So if I'm feeling like Mark doesn't need me or he's not happy with me or anything like that, then, it's very easy for a mom to default back to, well, my children need me, my husband doesn't, they're my life, let me put my focus more into my children. When in reality, you need to put your focus here in the marriage first. And that's really huge. So I just wanted to put that out there because I know that's something that I've struggled with. I have a lot of friends that have struggled with that as well. And when the children take the place of the husband and they become more important to the husband, and the husband feels like the children are more important to the wife than he is, then that creates tension and resentment. And there's never any room for tension and resentment in a marriage, especially resentment, because that leads into bitterness. And it's very difficult for a marriage to survive resentment and bitterness and keeping score and all that. So I just wanted to put that out there. So it's very healthy for the children to know that mom and dad come first. Their marriage comes first. And that there's never any triangulation. So and we've experienced this, not necessarily triangulation, but the attempt to create triangulation is that maybe one of our kids will come and ask Mark, hey, can I go do this? When they know that my answer is going to be no. And so, he may say yes, or vice versa. The kids will come to me and say, hey, can I do this? Or can I have this? And I may say no, and then they'll go to Mark and he may say yes, or, vice versa, however that works. And so one of the things that we've learned to combat that so that we don't wind up with triangulation issues and struggles within us and fighting between us is if one of our kids comes and asks us, hey, can I go outside and go down to JoJo's house or whatever, then I'll say, go ask your dad. And then they'll ask the dad and he'll say, go ask your mom. And then we'll say, hey, honey, did you say it's okay for so-and-so to go down to JoJo's house? Well, actually, no, I told so-and-so to do their homework first. And, oh, okay. So that part goes back into the communication, but it's really important to be on the same page, not just with the in-laws, but with the children as well. So I just wanted to say that. Carry on.
Okay. So again, now we're on to O, with the O in love you, and that is outside. And you need to understand how to deal with the outside world in your marriage, whether that's a non-Christian world, whether that's a Christian world. Basically, we've had
friends.
We've had friends, and they've felt that the marriage is important, but maintaining friendships with people before you were married was more important. We see marriages come apart because they've spent more time with their friends than with their husband or wife.
With each other.
And that's a sure example of a perfect way to destroy your marriage. There's nothing wrong with having friends. There's nothing wrong with spending time with friends. But when your focus comes to guys' night out as opposed to staying at home with your wife, or ladies' night out as opposed to spending time with your husband, when that becomes a priority, that's the issue. The priority should be the wife or the husband. And as long as you're putting them first, when you do have that opportunity and you have that ability to go out and hang out with your buddies, she'll be fine with it, because she knows you're just going out and having some guy time. And it doesn't necessarily mean, going out and getting drunk or getting drinking or doing anything like that. It might just be going and hanging out with the guys, just playing cards, or like I used to hang out with a bunch of guys who we did board games. I was a tabletop miniatures fan. So, I'd drive on a Saturday afternoon, an hour and a half to meet these guys and hang out and play games for 3 or 4 hours and then come home. And she knew that's all I was doing. I just needed some guy adult time that didn't involve being at work and dealing with issues. It just was being with guys, doing something I enjoy.
And he was meeting the needs of our marriage first.
Yeah, of
and
course.
So when I felt like my needs were met and in our marriage, then I'm okay with him going and hanging out. But if we're not spending any time together, or if we're in an argument for 4 days or whatever, and then he wants to go out and hang out with the guys this week and next week and the week before last, that would be very difficult, because then I would feel like he was putting his friends before me, and vice versa. And, that happened in the other way with my girlfriends. And so another thing is also couple friends. When you are spending more time with couples than you are with each other, that's going to create a problem. Or other families, or there's so many other things that can take the distract you away from your marriage, and spending time when you're spending more time with other things in the outside world, right, than with each other, and meeting the needs of each other. And when you're meeting the needs of each other in a marriage, there will never be any problems in terms of feeling insecure.
And if you're, like, for example, we have a couple of life groups that we do together, but there are times when we'll just call the life group and go, no, we're not going to make it today. And that's not a reflection on the life group. That's a reflection on us knowing we need to be together. It may be that it was just one of those times where, I just got laid off. So, like, for example, we had life group, but we decided not to do life group because we felt it was more important to have family time. So it was us and our daughters. So we spent the evening together as a family, as opposed to going to our life group. And there's times when life group is very important, because you might be going through something and you need that prayer, you need that support. But always remember, the family unit, starting with the husband and wife, is your priority.
Yes.
Everything from there builds off of that.
Right.
But if you're putting everything before that, you're not going to have very much success.
Right.
So that takes us to the last.
Oh wait, I got
letter.
one more thing to say.
Okay, this 15-minute video is going on a lot longer.
I know, but there's a lot to say. So our kids, two of our youngest play volleyball. During volleyball season, it is crazy busy. And we have games 2 or 3 times a week, practices 4 times a week. We're running up the mountain, down the mountain, all over the place. There's all the things that need to be done, making meals, taking them with us, and so on and so forth. And so during volleyball season, which is typically between August and November, and then March to June-ish, right? So 2 volleyball seasons. During sports seasons, we are going in different directions. So it's really important also in the outside terms that you keep that time for each other, even when life is demanding so many things, like sports and activities and so on and so forth. So,
okay, so that takes
Carry
us
on.
to the final one.
Oh wait,
So
there's
we
one
can
more
just
thing I
get
want to
to
say. Just one
the
more.
This 15-minute video is
I'm
like
just joking.
45 minutes now.
Okay. I was just joking.
So
There
the
wasn't
final
really
one
another one.
is you, which
You.
love you.
You.
LOVEYOU. You is very important in understanding yourself and your needs.
Yes.
Because if you know your needs and you communicate them with your wife or husband, they'll understand your needs also.
Mm-hmm.
I, for example, when I come home from work, I like to come upstairs, put my pajamas on and my slippers, and take a few minutes of just decompression. Sometimes it'll be 5 or 10 minutes. Sometimes I've fallen asleep on the bed and
come up to get his pajamas on and then
fell
fall asleep
So
while dinner's waiting on the table. Right?
Used to get pissed off about that because I would disappear. But now she gets, now she's accepting of that, understanding that, I need my time. And with me knowing that she understands that, I can take 5 or 10 minutes as opposed to prior, I would try to hide for an hour or so because I just felt I needed to get away.
And overwhelmed, right?
So when you understand yourself and you communicate that with your spouse and he or she understands that, and he or she understands themselves and communicates it, and makes it much easier.
Mm-hmm.
So to us, these are the 7 things that are key in a marriage.
Wait,
and we'll say the acronym again, which is LOVE YOU, which stands for love of God, open communication, value each other, earnings, why, which
because
is
I love you.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, go ahead.
Why?
Because. Sorry, go.
Okay. What's why?
I'll just wait.
Go ahead.
You're
What's
leading
why?
it. You're leading
why
it.
Why you? Go on, come on. Why you?
Is your family. Your family.
So,
yes.
And then outside and yourself, understanding yourself.
Okay, I want to say something on that too, though. So, like I said, so I came from a very difficult upbringing and everything. So I carried a lot of baggage into our marriage, not more than he could handle, thankfully. But
I had a Ranger at the time. So
what did you have?
A Ranger. So we
had the pickup truck to put all my baggage. Mm-hmm. That's funny. Anywho, he has been very patient. But part of the understanding yourself is understanding where you came from and then being able to deal with the things that you bring into the marriage and understanding who you are, your identity in Christ, who you are in the marriage, your role in the marriage, and understanding your psychology of it. And I think that that's a really important thing because there are going to come up things where if you're bringing all this baggage into your marriage, like I did, they're just going to come out during the marriage. And they can create a lot of issues. And so I would say whatever you've gone through, continue to grow and to continue to work through that so that it doesn't just build anger, resentment, and bitterness in yourself. It took a number of years for me to let down my walls but then as I did, then it started to become a really good marriage.
That was tough. But if
But you
if
stuck
what
with
we've said
me, and
is helpful, if it's something that you're thinking could help, we're going to delve deeper into each issue. We're going to go ahead and talk about scripture and
Mhm.
following scripture. People say that there's not a manual on marriage. Well, there is. It's called the Bible, and we follow it. Um, we know there are a lot of you who are much more advanced in your walk than we are. There's a lot of you who are just starting your walk.
Mhm.
Every person's at a different level in their relationship with God and Jesus, but we're going to try to explain to you how marriage works for us, what we found is successful, following the book and the teachings, and just continue on with our understanding of marriage, our thoughts on marriage, our thoughts on family,
Mhm.
raising family, all the things that we've been through with life. We are going to express our views and our thoughts on helping others. That's what our channel is all about, is helping others
Right.
with life issues. We say it's marriage, but marriage is the focus, but in that marriage is life. And there's a lot in life that we need people to help us with. Like we said, we have a life group. We go to our life group to get help and understanding. We go to the Bible to get that help and understanding.
And we've taken courses. We've read a lot of books. Like I said, I've studied psychology for 21 years, and with an emphasis on relationships, and so in theology, and so
And we're
that'll
just here
help.
to express our help.
Yeah, and we'll pray with you. And like we said, did you have something else to say?
Mhm.
Come on.
No.
Yeah, I think you did. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'll be